Hey guys, welcome to my channel. As told by Felicity, this is my very first video for this series. Yay! I'm super duper excited to share with you guys. I will be doing some past paper reviews for CSEC textile clothing and fashion. So feel free to subscribe to my channel and don't forget to like and share it if you found the tips helpful. So let's get into it. From the neckline at the back, we're going to measure the So in this video, we are going to be looking at May 2021 for CSEC textile clothing and fashion. So we'll begin with question number 1. And I want to remind you guys that these are open-ended questions, so the answers may vary depending on what you may learn in your individual classrooms. So I'm trying to give you the basic or the general responses that you can possibly have for these questions. I want to point out as well that you may want to identify the names or the instructions. I want you to be able to observe the instructions for the questions so that you are able to answer them based on what is asked as well as the value. So when we look at the value of the question as well as the instruction, then that would give you a better idea of how you respond to the questions. I personally like to write the answers in complete sentences, but again, you have to pay attention to the objectives that they are asking you for. So name, identify, state, outline, and stuff like that. That will give you an idea of how you structure your responses. So let's get into it. So the first question says, name the two main groups into which textile fibers are classified according to their sources. So the two main groups of fiber classification are natural and man-made fibers, and that will earn you 2 marks. Question number 2, it says, identify one example of each of the groups listed in AI. So whatever you have written here, then you would identify one example here. So we have natural fiber. So one example of each fiber, natural fiber, you could have either cotton, linen, wool, or silk. Again, just to reiterate that these are the possible answers that you could have. You do not have to write all 4 because the question says identify one example. So for natural fiber, you could only have cotton or linen or wool or silk. You don't have to write all 4. Man-made, you can have polyester, viscose, nylon, acetate, or any other man-made fibers. Again, these are just suggestions for what you can do for the responses. You don't have to put my exact answers, but you have to have something that is close to that. Question B, state one difference between filament fibers and staple fibers. The difference between filament fibers and staple fibers is their length. That's the main difference. So filament fibers are long and continuous, while staple fibers are short lengths. And that will earn you 2 marks for stating one difference between each of them. All right, so we'll move on to C. Question C says, Sarah's aunt sent her a sweater tagged 100% acrylic. Give one property of the acrylic sweater that would make it comfortable to wear. State one reason for your response. Now, one property of the acrylic sweater is that it is warm and lightweight. This would make a great sweater to protect Sarah from the cold and at the same time making the garment easy to carry around and easy to wear. So the property that we have identified is that it is warm and lightweight. So that's the one property. And we gave our reason. So it says give one property. So we would get 1 mark for giving the property and 2 marks, which gives us a total of 3 marks for stating the reason. So why I chose that is because I'm saying that it protects her from the cold and at the same time making the garment easy to carry around. Now that is just one property that you could have identified. Any of the other properties for acrylic sweater would be that it is soft and flexible, it gives a wool-like feel, it does not shrink and is wrinkle resistant, or it is cheaper than wool. So you could have any of these responses as other properties for this particular question. However, if you choose any of these responses, then you will have to state your reason for selecting any of these. And these are pretty self-explanatory, so you can always go ahead and explain why you say you choose soft and flexible, why it has a wool-like feel, what's the reason why you said it doesn't shrink, and why is it wrinkle resistant. The next part of the question says, Sarah's aunt sent her mother another sweater made of polyester. Suggest 2 similarities and 2 differences in the burning test of polyester and acrylic fibers. So here it identifies similarities and you are supposed to write the differences here. So the first similarity is that both fibers fuse away from the flame and it melts, seeing that we are talking about the burning test of the polyester fiber. And the second similarity is that both fibers have a hard black bead. For the differences, I have listed 3 differences here, so you can always choose any 2 of the differences. Polyester fibers are self-extinguishing, while acrylic fibers continue to burn and melt. The second difference is that polyester fibers burn slowly and continue to melt, while acrylic fibers burn rapidly with hot flame and sputtering. And the third difference is that polyester has a chemical odor while acrylic has an acrid odor. As I said, for these differences it only asked for 2, so you can write any 2 of these responses for the difference. The last question says, state one test that could be used to identify the fibers other than burning test. So you could have either microscopic observation, and it says to only state 1, which gives you only 1 mark. So microscopic observation, or chemical solubility, or instrumental analysis, or we can have visual inspection. So any of those responses will give you your 1 mark, and you would get a total of 16 marks for number 1. As I said, guys, these are only suggestions for the possible responses to question number 1 of the CSEC May 2021 Textile Clothing and Fashion Paper 2. So if you have any comments, any questions, or if you have any other answers, feel free to leave them in the comment section below and check out my next video for question number 2.